and what I like, cause I'm influential. See my rap dog group, they do the same dance I do, cause I'm influential. Next time you go through, just tell them that I sent you, cause I'm influential.
If you were a fan of Bad Boy Records in the early 2000s, then you'll be very familiar with my guest today. Travell Coleman, better known by his stage name G.DEP, was a major part of the Bad Boy team, with songs like Let's Get It and Special Delivery that lit up the charts and dance clubs around the country. He featured very heavily on P. Diddy's 2001 album, The Saga Continues, and released his debut album, Child of the Ghetto, in 2001. While G.DEP appeared to have it all, he faced interpersonal turmoil stemming from an incident in 1993, where a botched robbery attempt resulted in a shooting that, unbeknownst to him at the time, proved later to be fatal. After years of having the incident weigh on him, he confessed to the incident in 2010 and was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison at Fishkill Correctional Facility in upstate New York. However, 12 years into his sentence in late 2023, G.DEP was awarded clemency and released from prison in April of 2024. But prior to that, he had actually started recording music again. Yes, from behind bars, and completed a new album, Influential, that was released in March of 2024, just 2 weeks before he knew he'd be getting out of prison. I randomly found out about him having an album on Instagram, and knowing that he had recorded it in prison, I thought, quite honestly, there's no way this is gonna be good. Turns out, it's my favorite album of the year so far, and I wanted to know more about how it was created. With that said, here is my one-on-one conversation with G.DEP, where you'll get to hear all about his life, what he's been up to, and learn the behind the scenes of how his influential album came to be. G.DEP, welcome to the show.
Hey, peace. Thanks for having me. You already know.
As I've said before on the show, I was quite surprised that when I heard that you got out, that there was already an album that had been recorded in the process of you being in prison. And so when I heard it, I was just blown away by the quality of it in terms of like the songwriting, the beat selection, like everything in between. So I want to talk about all that stuff today. For people that haven't seen you in a while, can you give us a brief synopsis of the early part of your career leading up to when you got into prison?
I was like, on the underground circuit, in Harlem. You know what I'm saying? Just running around doing mixtapes, battling, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Just a kid trying to get on. I had managers and we was putting music out, you know what I mean? Making demos, running in the, going to labels, camping out in front of labels, trying to give digs. We didn't even know who we was handing the demos to sometime. Like anybody that had a suit on, or looked like they was a professional, we would be like, yo, listen to this, and, stuff like that. So I went through all of that. Sooner or later, I started, getting a little more, exposure. Different people, knew about what we were doing, and, I was getting more opportunities, as time went on. I got on Gangstar's album, Moment of Truth, and then a little bit after that, I signed to Bad Boy.
And your early hits with Bad Boy, like what were some of the earlier songs that you got on with Bad Boy?
112 had a remix. I don't know if a lot of people heard that. That was one of the first songs I got on we went to the Bahamas. And by the time we got back to the States, it was on the radio. So that was the first time I got on the radio.
What was that experience like when you heard yourself on the radio for the first time?
Oh man, it was wild, man. It was kind of like surreal. It took me a while to hear it. A lot of people told me, "Yo, I heard the song on the radio with you on 112," and I was like, "Wow, really?" Like, and it took me a while. For some reason, I could never catch it. You know what I mean? And then one day, it just came on. I forgot where I was at, and it just came on. I was like, "Oh, that's just right." And so it was really a dope thing, man. I think I was inside. I think I was in my grandmother's house or something when it came on.
So obviously 2001, you exploded because that's when Puffy dropped The Saga Continues. That's when the first big hit came out for Let's Get It with Puffy and Black Rob.
Ain't no way you can take this from me. Ain't funny. Shake it, honey. Take it, money. Now let's get it.
When that video dropped and there was like the dancing in the video, you had your slang in it, that was, you were rapping in the video, and it definitely had an impact on the culture. Like, how did that feel when that song like took off?
That was another surreal feeling, man. It just felt like any movie you've seen where, just a guy, just his whole journey, and the newness of hearing yourself on the radio, and you're hearing yourself on the radio was, it was just like that. I just, I heard it one day. Somebody came through and was bumping it. I'm like, how was he? How do you have my song? You know what I'm saying? Like, he was like, it was on the radio. Like, you know what I mean? So just the change from, people knowing, because, you can sign to a label, but, people don't know, people still won't know who you are. You know what I mean? But once the song came out, and people had, things to associate, oh, yo, your name is G-Dep. So that's you on the radio. You know what I mean? So, I started, experiencing that.
And you had that song, and then you had Special Delivery, which was another classic banger that came out that was also just like taking over every place.
Hit the block, watch the kid take up. The girl keep coming around, and I'ma take it to Jamaica, and I give her a reason to get curious.
You were with Bad Boy for a little bit, and then at some point you were off Bad Boy. What happened in terms of that process of things?
I was being real irresponsible with my my responsibilities. Basically, I got dropped. You know what I mean? It was more of a holler at me when you get your stuff together. You know what I'm saying? So, I was doing my own, my own music and stuff like that after that point.
Okay, because I know you dropped out. You done an album with Loon, and then you actually had another album come out called Ghetto Legend in 2010, I believe. I assume those were independent albums?
Yeah, those are independent. One was on, I think, Sickin' Records. I'm not sure the name. The Loon, the G-Dep and Loon album was on something called Sickin', or Psychin', something like that, Records. And then the other one was on a joint called Famous Records. You know what I'm saying? Distributed out of Florida. We put that out. They were distributed by Universal. The independent deal.
I looked on the discography, like it was only a few months from when you dropped your second studio album that you decided to turn yourself in. So what happened during that time? And then what made you turn yourself in for various reasons?
We was dropping the album. We did the album release and everything. And, it just made me realize that I was about to go, embark on this new journey with a new album out that I was going to, put my full energy and attention into. And I just wanted to, it made me realize that, okay, you're going to start, a whole nother chapter without still not, resolving your issue or what you have going on and what you've been thinking about and what you've been, what I've been, pondering about all of those years. You know what I mean? So I didn't want to go into that without, at least, having some type of closure on what went on that night. So I decided to, turn, when I turned myself in, that was, one of the reasons, because, it seemed like, I was starting all over again. And I knew what I went through during the time of my, my previous releases. And, I just didn't want to go through that again, with that, on my mind. I was trying to move forward.
And then when you went to the police station, you didn't know at the time, like what was going to happen as a result of you going to the police station. You were just kind of going there as like an inquiry, correct?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I thought I figured that I could go there and see what was going on. And I like you said, I didn't know what was going to happen. I was prepared for what could happen, but I didn't know. As prepared as you can be. You know what I mean? I mentally knew it was a possibility that I might not, walk out of there.
You go there, long story short, you do end up going to jail, and I think they sentenced you for like 15 to life or something like that. So in terms of the music side of stuff, after that, your Ghetto Legend album came out, like there was nothing in terms of releases or recordings or anything major with it up until like this past couple of months. So when all this stuff was going down and you were going to trial, then you were getting your prison sentence, were you thinking that you were ever going to try to record music or write music?
During the trial and all of that, I didn't really think about music a lot. You know what I mean? It was kind of the furthest thing from, I can't say the furthest thing from my mind. I wrote. Yeah, I used to write even during the trial, but it was just one of those things that, you know, I just wrote because that was, writing is an affliction, man. You know, you just, stuff just comes to your mind and you just put it down. You know what I mean? So I was also writing a book at that time. So so I was definitely into writing and stuff still. You know, I didn't know what I was going to do with it though. You know what I mean? I just wrote.
How many songs did you collect between like we'll say 2011 up till like this past year? Like, were you writing like every day? Were you writing like, you're like tens of songs, hundreds of songs? Like how many songs had you written?
Well, I was writing, you know, after a while, especially once I got up north, I started like a regimen, like, you know what I mean? Like I had like a routine and I held myself to a certain, standard to, what I was going to do. I told myself, okay, just, I knew, I had a lot of time to do, so I wasn't really, trying to, write like, profusely, you know what I'm saying? Like I gave myself a simple goal. I said, all right, write a song a month. And I think it was 3 freestyles a month. So at the end of the year, I would have 36 freestyles.
Wow.
And 12 songs. You know what I mean? And then I would put those to the side. So I did that for like at least 8 years like that. I did that till about 2019. When COVID hit, I started writing more. Like I had more songs. Like, you know what I mean? I started writing. So, I started like ending up with like 35 songs a month. You know what I mean? So, then the freestyles I was putting to the side, stuff like that. So yeah. So, you just start accumulating. So I gave myself a quota, and that's kind of how I like accumulated songs. I mean, I had my own, my own regimen in my mind. You know what I mean? Like I was my own. I was my CEO, my artist. You know what I'm saying? My A&R. You know what I mean? I just created a whole process. You know what I'm saying? And that was my creative process.